On a cool July morning in 1938, 4-year-old Alfred Beilhartz walked along a forest trail in Rocky Mountain National Park. His small feet kicked up dusty red dirt as he stepped right behind his loving parents. The morning sun was warm, but the tall pine trees made long, dark shadows across the path. Alfred was happy playing with small rocks and enjoying a quiet summer family outing in the woods. Just a few steps separated the young child from his mother and father. The high mountain forest was vast, quiet, and filled with tall evergreen trees that reached toward the sky. Cold mountain streams rushed over slippery gray stones nearby, making a loud splashing sound. The air at this high-altitude trail was thin and cold. Thick bushes lined both sides of the narrow walking path, hiding sharp drops and steep rock walls. It was a beautiful place for a family walk, but the wilderness hid dangerous terrain behind every single tree. Within just 3 short minutes, this peaceful morning turned into a terrible tragedy. Alfred was walking right behind his father near the rushing waters of Fall River. His father turned around to check on him, but the small dirt path was completely empty. There was no loud cry for help, no sound of falling rocks, and no snap of broken branches in the brush. The small 4-year-old boy in his blue clothes had vanished into the quiet mountain air. Deep panic set in right away as his father called out his name across the quiet trees. The family ran back and forth along the dusty trail, looking behind every large rock and thick tree trunk. They shouted into the thick bushes, hoping to hear a small voice answer them back. But only the cold wind and rushing river water answered their cries. A small toddler was gone, leaving behind no clues about where he went. Park rangers rushed to the scene as soon as the urgent call for help reached their office. They quickly began one of the largest mountain search efforts the national park had ever seen. Men carrying bright lanterns and long wooden walking sticks walked through the deep woods in long lines. The search protocols of 1938 were simple and slow compared to modern times. Rescue teams lacked the portable radios and precise maps that searchers use today. The search teams faced hard physical work and dangerous weather as night fell over the mountain peaks. Cold winds whipped through the valley, dropping the temperature close to freezing. Men climbed steep rock faces and crawled through sharp bushes until their hands were badly scraped and sore. They searched through the dark hours, knowing that a small child could not survive the freezing high mountain cold without warm clothes and shelter. A strange clue suddenly came from a tourist standing far away on the other side of a deep canyon. The witness claimed to see a tiny boy walking near a high cliff edge at a spot called Devil's Nest. The small child seemed to be moving along the sharp rocks all by himself. This witness report gave everyone a quick flash of hope, pointing search teams toward the dangerous high cliffs across the valley. Rescue teams rushed up to the steep cliff area as fast as their legs could carry them. They carefully searched every inch of the sharp gray rocks and checked every small cave along the mountain ledge. But when they arrived at the site, they found nothing at all. There were no tiny footprints in the loose dirt, no scraps of torn cloth, and no physical sign that any child had walked on that cliff. Back at the main search camp, Alfred's parents sat near a small fire waiting for any news. Their hearts were completely broken, and their eyes were tired from crying into the dark night. They replayed those last 3 minutes in their minds, over and over again. How could a little 4-year-old disappear so fast without making a single sound? The missing answer was far more painful than any truth they could imagine. Investigators began to analyze the reliability of the witness who saw the boy across the deep canyon. Looking across such a huge mountain distance can trick human eyes in strange ways. Shadows from rocks and blowing bushes can easily look like a moving person from miles away. The witness may have seen a small mountain animal or just a moving shadow on the stone wall, sending search teams in the wrong direction. Hoping to find a fresh trail, search leaders brought trained bloodhounds into the mountain park. The big dogs sniffed the child's clothes and set their noses close to the damp earth. They marched through the woods for a short distance, but then stopped dead in their tracks. The dogs circled around in confusion, completely losing the scent on the cold, hard rocks near the edge of the rushing river. High-altitude terrain creates massive challenges for tracking dogs and human rescue workers. Strong mountain winds quickly sweep away scent particles from the soil and fallen leaves. Cold night air and rough stone surfaces make it almost impossible for dogs to keep a trail going. The search tools available in 1938 were simply not strong enough to overcome the harsh physical realities of a wilderness disappearance in the Rockies. As days turned into a full week, a heavy cloud of sadness settled over the entire search camp. Hundreds of local volunteers had joined the rescue effort, walking through dangerous mountain areas again and again. They checked cold mountain lakes and searched deep forest ravines. Yet after searching miles of rough ground, they found zero physical evidence. Not a single shoe, cap, or small button was ever recovered from the woods. The high mountain wilderness remained cold, quiet, and unfeeling toward the human tragedy below. Fast rivers like Fall River run deep and icy over sharp granite rocks, carrying heavy mountain water down the steep slopes. Thick pine forests cover thousands of acres of hidden ground. In a landscape so huge and wild, a small child can disappear into nature without leaving behind any proof of where he went. Primary sources like official detective logs and ranger reports recorded every single step of the long search. These historical records show how hard the search teams worked, but they also highlight critical search flaws. Men often walked over the exact same areas while accidentally skipping other nearby spots. Without central communication or aerial coverage, large gaps were left open in the search grid across the mountainside. After many days of exhausting work, the official search operation was forced to come to an end. Exhausted volunteers returned to their homes, and ranger teams packed up their heavy equipment. The official police logs were marked as an unsolved case by state authorities. A dark weight remained over Rocky Mountain National Park as the quiet wilderness returned to its natural state. Alfred's father never gave up hope in his heart, carrying the painful loss for the rest of his life. He returned to the mountain trail years later, standing near the exact place where his son had vanished. He stared into the quiet forest, searching for answers that the silent trees would never give back. The lingering grief of that single July morning stayed with his family for decades. The disappearance of young Alfred Beilhartz remains one of the most puzzling cold cases in national park history. How a 4-year-old child could disappear in broad daylight with his parents just steps away defies simple explanation. Some investigators wondered if a wild animal took him, while others guessed he fell into the fast river. Yet no physical proof ever supported any of these claims. Modern investigators reviewing the case logs still study the witness report from Devil's Nest. They conduct careful analysis of how high-altitude light and open space affect what people see across wide canyons. The reliability of eyewitness reports in wilderness cases is often low, especially when people are desperate to help. A misidentified shadow can easily send rescue teams miles away from where the victim actually was. This tragic 1938 disappearance helped reform wilderness search protocols for future search and rescue teams. Today, National Park Services use detailed grid maps, helicopter support, and specialized tracking teams trained for high-altitude terrain. The procedural flaws revealed during the search for Alfred taught critical lessons that now help locate lost children in national parks across the nation. The loss reshaped rescue work forever. Despite decades of progress in search methods and forensic science, the fate of the missing child remains unknown. The high peaks of the Rocky Mountains hold on to their secrets with complete silence. Decades have passed since that sunny morning, but the tragic fact remains unchanged. 4-year-old Alfred Beilhartz stepped behind his parents on a mountain trail in 1938 and vanished without a trace. The high mountain forest still stands tall under the clear sky, silent and unchanged by time. Everyday visitors walk along the trail near Fall River, unaware of the small boy who vanished into thin air long ago. The story of Alfred Beilhartz endures as a haunting memory of how quickly a life can change, and how vast and unknowable the mountain wilderness truly remains.